Hello and welcome back to another video. So, welcome to the first video of Gamecube month. Yes, the next few weeks are going to be packed to the gills with Gamecube stuff. I'm today talking about the Capcom 5. 5 exclusives developed by Capcom for the Nintendo Gamecube in all of its glory. Only for most of them to not go super well, so we'll get into that in a minute. Then the next few weeks will be things like import games, favourite multiplayer, games I don't particularly like, and we'll end it rather nicely on a game I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. So, before I get into that though, I wanted to just highlight GameCube Anthology by Manent, which is... that's a name. Basically, I was just sort of reading through this absolutely gorgeous book full of Nintendo GameCube games, Wind Waker, shows off things like Game Boy Advance compatibility, all that glorious, glorious shit. And it made me kind of go, you know what? GameCube's one of my favourite consoles, period. Let's do a whole month on that. I would have done my top 10 GameCube games, but I did that earlier this year, so oops. But today, the Capcom 5. So, cast your minds back to 2003, 22 years ago, at the time of this recording, and sort of around that period, the GameCube is not doing very well. It's not doing well. The Cube is not selling at all. It is not selling in the slightest, which isn't great, let's be fair, because Nintendo had already had a bit of a bummer with the N64. Now, the N64 had sold better than the Saturn, which isn't saying much, but yeah. As a result, they were like, right, we need games for this thing. We need games for our console to sell more console. Tell you what we need. We need Capcom. We've had historically very good workings with Capcom. Capcom are killing it with their Resident Evil series and other shit that they were doing around this time. Let's rope in Capcom to do us 5 games for the GameCube to get units out the door. And they did those 5. We'll get to that one. So, yes, here's the killer. Here's the kicker with the Capcom 5. There were 5 games announced, which were P.N.O. 3, Dead Phoenix, Resident Evil 4, Beautiful Joe, and Killer 7. And they were all to be released exclusively for the GameCube. Only one of them remained exclusive. One. We'll get to that one now. P.N.O. 3. Or Project Number 3. If you really want to go down that route, technically it would slot in right bang slap in the middle. But Project Number 3. This kind of embodies what the 2000s thought the future was going to look like. Everything is chrome. Everything is sleek. It's got this very weird sort of aqua bubble aesthetic. That's not bad. Its biggest thing in terms of multiplayer is a lot of it is focused around laser beam emission. It's sort of a combination of an action-adventure game similar to Devil May Cry, well, maybe more like a third-person shooter, and a bullet hell. It's very weird. It's very, very strange. You're predominantly creating laser blasts to send out. There's a lot of spinning acrobatic moves in an attempt to look elegant and excellent and all that good stuff. Weird thing is about this game, it doesn't play very well. It doesn't play very well in the slightest, unfortunately, but we can do. As a result, I can kind of see why P.N.O. 3 was just sort of left on the console, especially when you get to the next four. The next four. Specifically, the one GameCube game of the lot that has been ported to everything. The PS2, the Wii, the 360, the PS3, the PS4, the PS5, the MetaQuest. It was remade recently. It's Resident Evil 4. Now, Resident Evil 4 changed everything. Changed everything. As far as how Resident Evil had been up until that point. So you sort of had some of the DNA with 3, but gone are the fixed angles. Sort of. It's more actiony. It's more goofy in a lot of ways. It changed everything that Resident Evil had been. Now, Resident Evil had always been goofy, but it was predominantly fixed camera angles, pre-rendered backgrounds. This, fully 3D. Changed everything. Weird little Napoleon guy as the main antagonist. Ashley in her dumb night suit. All of that good stuff. Leon S. Kennedy. Former cop, maybe. I don't know. I'm not big on Resident Evil. That's unfortunately a common trend for these 4 games. Not super huge on them. But Resident Evil 4 was such a towering achievement that you'd think it probably shuffled a few of these. It probably shuffled a few GameCubes out the door before people went, hang on a minute, they're inevitably going to port this to the PS2, where it did way better. That being said, this game's still like £8. Worth it. Nice box art too. 2 discs. That's unfortunately the UMD. Not UMD. That's unfortunately the fact of the matter with the GameCube is the discs weren't very big, and as a result they weren't very big for storage, so yay. My thoughts on Resident Evil 4. I've played a bit of it. I'm not a big horror guy. I never have been. And if you've watched this channel at all, you'll know I don't follow the typical trend of games that are popular. I tend to go, right, this game's weird, I like it. Or, this game's very popular with a lot of people, I don't like it. It's not for me. And that's okay. That's fine. That's perfectly alright. Which is a bit weird when we get to the third game of the 5. Beautiful Joe, which is a side-scrolling beat-em-up, sort of along rails, 2.5D, very inspired by Power Rangers. Now, I grew up on that shit. I grew up on little heroes who were colour-coded and had different abilities and big dumb combination forms and big dumb mechs. Wild Force in particular was probably the last Power Rangers I really got into. I did watch RPM. I watched a little bit of what was it called? The one with the cops and the dog. Watched a bit of Time Force. Didn't like Time Force. Like to Be Rescue. I know that all came before Wild Force, but Wild Force was the last one for me. I picked up Beautiful Joe. I've picked it up on and off over the last few years, and to be perfectly honest with you, it's just aggressively okay. It's okay. Now, this did spawn a series, a short-lived one, but a series nonetheless. Yeah, Beautiful Joe 2. I don't know if they did a third one, and then you had Team Rumble or something like that. I do have Team Rumble. I don't have 2 on here yet. I'm umming and ahhing about it. But, yeah. A lot of these went on to have either sequels or spiritual successors. P&O 3 didn't. It stayed on the Cube and it died on the Cube. Beautiful Joe ported to, I think, the PSP. Or it definitely had a PSP port of one of the games. And the PS2. But all of these all of these. Skip the original Xbox, which sucks, because... Good system. Good system. Beautiful Joe. My personal thoughts on it. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. This is kind of the trend with the Capcom 5. They're not my cup of tea. I respect them. I like that 3 of them are really fucking weird. And then one of them completely revitalized Resident Evil in a way that you don't really get anymore. Like, Resident Evil doing well, which is great. I heard Village was excellent, but at the same time, I don't care. It's not that kind of goofy, weird shit anymore. It is goofy and weird, but it's all, like, horror again. Which, sure, whatever. The 4th game on our list of 5. Killer 7. Where to begin with Killer 7? Killer 7 is by Goichi Suda, or Suda51, as he's more commonly known. A guy whose game library or game career can be summed up as someone ground up a lot of methamphetamines, shoved them into his brain on a permanent drip, and went, go coding, go game directing, go do some weird crap. I've got quite a few of his games. He is the definition of outlandish auteur. I played an awful lot of Lollipop Chainsaw about 15 years ago. 14 years ago. I played Shadows of the Damned. I hated Shadows of the Damned. I played Killer is Dead, which is a spiritual successor to Killer 7, and I thought it was great. Weird, but great. Played well. Killer 7 is a first-person on-rails shooter where you control 7 murderers, or 7 assassins, that you can switch out on the fly. And you're fighting weird demonic terrorists manifested by a guy with the right hand of destruction, whilst your team of 7 is led by a guy who is... Oh no. Sorry. The left hand of creation, whilst we are the right hand of destruction, who is a guy in a wheelchair with a massive explosive anti-tank rifle. Which is crazy. You fight angels. You fight a guy with a giant afro with a brain attached to it that you blow up. You have a series of one-on-one showdowns, Mexican-style shootouts, Mexican standoffs, series of Mexican standoffs against Power Rangers. And it all turns out to be sort of a cycle, an endless cycle of death and destruction between 2 omnipotent super gods. Yeah, I don't like how it plays. I don't like how it plays. I respect Killer 7 for being as out there as any game I've ever played. And here's the kicker. I've got plenty of games that are out there and weird and shockingly bonkers in 100 different ways. Killer 7 really tops that chart. It's just a game that I have legitimately struggled to get into. A big part of it is its gameplay. It's very tedious. It is an extremely tedious game. You hear laughter, you stop, you scan, you shoot, they blow up. That's it. That's the game. There's some like puzzle elements thrown in as well, sometimes given to you by a guy who erotically asphyxiated himself. A dude bound in gimp leather hanging from the ceiling, or a woman whose head is just a head in a washing machine. Yeah. Killer 7. So, as you can see, you've got a sort of weird combination third-person shooter combined with bullet hell mechanics. and elaborate acrobatic evasion techniques. You've got a redefinition of probably one of the most iconic horror franchises in gaming. You've got a video game inspired by both Power Rangers and superheroes. That's a 2.5D beat 'em up, and Killer 7. What about number 5? Number 5 is probably the most tragic to me because number 5 was Dead Phoenix. Dead Phoenix was cancelled. Never came out. There's not been a ROM. Nobody's found anything yet. Give it time, hopefully. We don't know much about the development. We know that it was a shoot 'em up. So you sort of flew around on a big phoenix, fighting various monsters. I think it's inspired by Greek mythology. Don't quote me on that. But it's probably the game I would have been the most interested in. It's definitely the game that I would have had my eye on. If they announced these 5, and I went, cool. Not big on Resident Evil. Piano 3 looks weird. Fuck knows. And I'm not big on 2D platformers. Dead Phoenix is probably the one I would have gone. I really like Panzer Dragoon. And I really like Star Fox. Where's Dead Phoenix going? What's happening there? What exactly is that game? You know, where is that game going? Got my quiff. Where's that game going? What's happening there? Oh, it's been cancelled. Great. Here's the kicker. With 3 ported, 1 cancelled, and 1 left, the Capcom 5 was an abysmal failure from a Gamecube perspective. From a general wider business perspective, you got 2 at least. 2 out of those 4, 2 out of the 4 that released were commercially successful enough to get more games. 1 was just weird. I don't know how well Killer 7 sold. It probably didn't sell well. It was a fucking weird-ass decision to A, fund that game in the first place, and B, release it in the West. It's very Japanese. It's very Japanese, and it's very bizarre. It's almost like they had this game in development. They were like, yeah, okay, I mean, fine. He's developed some cult games in Japan. Maybe we'll do this. Oh, Nintendo are knocking. We'll throw him Killer 7. Fuck it. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. It's a shame because it would have been nice to see these games with more emphasis, with more success. I don't know how many of these Resident Evil 4 moved. I'd imagine it was quite a few. But yeah. Not bad. Anyway, bit of a sour note to begin. Bit of a note, bit of a history lesson on why the Gamecube is one of my favourite consoles. It's got some weird shit on it, but also an example of why it didn't do so well, which is a shame. But we're not at the end of Gamecube month yet. We are just beginning, and next week we'll be looking very heartily at my entire import collection. Now, I have recently bought 3 brand new games, which I have played or have been playing, and I'm very excited to show them off because I'm in love with all 3. I am in love with all 3 of them. I think all 3 are absolutely fantastic, but we'll get into that next week. Anyways, guys, that is me signing off. Have a good one, and I will see you next time.